Some people wake up before the alarm sounds. The room is still dark. Not completely dark. Just enough light to show the edges of things. They lie there for a moment. No rush. No resistance. Breathing slow. The ceiling looks the same as yesterday. And the day before that. And the one before that. There is no strong feeling attached to the morning. No dread. No excitement. Just awareness. The air feels familiar. The kind of familiar that no longer asks for attention. Some people notice the quiet first. Not a peaceful quiet. Just the absence of sound. Cars haven't started yet. Voices are still far away. The world hasn't fully arrived. They sit up slowly. The floor is cold. They already knew it would be. The body moves without thought. Feet touch the ground. Hands reach for light. Nothing unexpected happens. Nothing is anticipated either. The mirror reflects a face that is not surprising. Not disappointing. Just known. Eyes look back. They blink. They turn away. Water runs in the sink. The sound fills the room briefly. Then fades. Some people notice how quiet routines become. How little effort they ask for. The morning passes without resistance. Without pause. Clothes feel neutral. Neither comfortable nor uncomfortable. Outside, the sky looks ordinary. Clouds move slowly. Or not at all. There is a sense that time is moving. But no sense of being carried with it. Some people step outside and feel nothing change. The temperature is expected. The air smells like yesterday. The street looks the same. Houses stand still. Trees wait. There is no moment of hesitation. No inner comment. They begin the day the way one enters a familiar room. Without looking around. Sounds start to appear. Engines. Footsteps. Distant voices. The world turns on gradually. Some people are already awake inside this moment. Not alert. Not tired. Just present. There is no clear thought about what comes next. Only the sense that it will come. The morning does not ask anything from them. And they do not ask anything from it. Everything feels functional. Nothing feels meaningful. Time moves forward. Quietly. And the day begins. Some people move through their days with small adjustments no one points out. They stop checking their phone the moment they wake up. Not as a choice. It just happens. Messages can wait. Notifications stack up quietly. There is no rush to see who reached out. They answer when they remember. Sometimes hours later. Sometimes not at all. Some people notice they don't reread conversations anymore. They don't look for tone. They don't search for meaning between lines. Plans become lighter. Not cancelled. Just less important. If something changes, they nod. If someone forgets, they understand. If nothing happens, they accept it easily. They stop marking days on the calendar with anticipation. Birthdays arrive. Holidays pass. They acknowledge them politely. There is no disappointment attached. Just a quiet observation that time moved again. Some people start arriving exactly on time. Never early. Rarely late. Waiting loses its edge. Standing in line feels the same as walking. They don't check the door when expecting company. They assume delays. They prepare for silence. Their voice stays even. Stories are told without emphasis. Good news sounds ordinary. When asked how things are going, they pause briefly. Then they say, fine. Not as a cover. As a summary. Some people stop explaining themselves. Not out of secrecy. Out of simplicity. They give shorter answers. They let topics drift. If someone misunderstands, they don't rush to correct it. Clarity feels optional. They notice how often they say, it's okay. And how little thought it takes. Small disappointments no longer register as events. They pass like background noise. Some people stop imagining outcomes. They don't picture how things might turn out. They focus on what is already happening. The future becomes vague. Not threatening. Just undefined. They don't complain much. There is nothing specific to complain about. They adjust expectations without naming it, lowering them quietly, like turning down a dimmer switch. They still show up. They still respond. They still care, in a way. But the effort feels measured. Care is kept light. Some people notice they no longer feel surprised by silence. Missed calls feel expected. Unanswered messages feel normal. They stop filling the gaps with assumptions. They let gaps stay empty. Their reactions soften. Excitement fades faster. Disappointment never fully forms. They laugh when something is funny. They smile when it's appropriate. But the feelings don't linger. Nothing sticks long enough to demand attention. They become good at occupying their own time. Not productive. Just occupied. They scroll. They walk. They sit with background noise. The mind stays quiet. Not peaceful. Just uncluttered. Some people notice this change only when someone points it out. "You're so calm," they hear. They nod. They don't correct it. Because calm sounds close enough. Over time, certain moments begin to repeat. Not in obvious ways. In small, familiar ones. Some people notice that effort leaves their hands easily. A message sent. A plan suggested. A feeling shared. And then it waits. Sometimes it returns. Often it doesn't. At first, they notice the gap. They tell themselves it's nothing. Everyone is busy. Days move fast. They try again later. In a smaller way. With fewer words. The pattern doesn't announce itself. It blends into daily life. They start choosing safer timing. Safer topics. Safer tones. They learn which moments invite silence. They learn which ones don't. There is no clear decision made. No moment where things change. Just a gradual adjustment. Some people begin to offer less before being asked. They wait longer before responding. They leave space where they once leaned in. It feels practical. It feels reasonable. They stop adding extra thoughts at the end of messages. They stop checking if something sounded right. They notice how often replies arrive shorter than expected. How often warmth fades quickly. So they match it. Not out of bitterness. Out of balance. They mirror what comes back. They keep things even. Over time, reaching feels inefficient. Hope feels like extra weight. They don't name this shift. They just feel lighter when they carry less. Some people notice they no longer tell the full story. They summarize. They skip the parts that once mattered most. Not because they don't matter. Because they learned where those parts tend to disappear. They begin to expect neutral outcomes. Not bad ones. Just neutral. A plan might happen. It might not. Either way feels acceptable. They notice how often expectations create tension. How release follows when they let them go. So they let go earlier. Before hope settles in. This repetition teaches quietly. No lessons spoken. No warnings given. Each small moment reinforces the same idea. Don't lean too far. Don't wait too hard. Some people still care deeply. But they place that care carefully. They offer it in measured amounts. Where it won't echo back empty. They stop asking follow-up questions. They let conversations end naturally. Earlier than before. The silence becomes familiar. Not heavy. Predictable. They notice how predictable silence feels easier than uncertainty. So they adjust again. And again. Until expecting starts to feel unnecessary. Like an extra step that can be skipped. They don't feel numb. They feel efficient. Energy goes where it stays. Attention follows what responds. The rest fades without conflict. Some people don't realize this pattern until much later. When they try to feel excited. And notice how quickly it settles. They remember when waiting felt alive. When outcomes mattered more. But that memory feels distant. Not painful. Just far away. The present feels quieter. Cleaner. They move through days without bracing. Without leaning forward. The pattern holds. Gently. Consistently. And it keeps holding. At some point, a quiet realization settles in. Not suddenly. Not with clarity. It arrives during an ordinary moment. Standing still. Waiting for nothing in particular. Some people notice they are no longer scanning the day ahead. No longer leaning toward what might happen. There is a pause where anticipation used to be. And nothing fills it. They recognize the feeling only because it is absent. The slight pull forward. The subtle lift in the chest. It's gone. Not taken. Not broken. Just unused for a long time. They understand, without words, that they stopped expecting. Not as a rule. As a habit. The realization doesn't hurt. It doesn't comfort either. It simply sits there. Plain. Some people notice how calm this feels. How steady. There is no risk in expecting nothing. No letdown waiting at the edge. The world can arrive as it is. Or not arrive at all. And they will remain the same. But something subtle is missing. Not obvious enough to grieve. Not loud enough to demand attention. It's the quiet energy that once lived between moments. The sense that something could shift. They remember how waiting used to feel. Not anxious. Alive. That memory surfaces briefly. Then fades again. They see now what the trade was. Stability for openness. Calm for possibility. No one asked them to make it. They made it slowly. Piece by piece. They didn't lose hope in one moment. They set it down many times. Just for a while. Just until things were clearer. And then never picked it back up. Some people realize this when something good happens. And the reaction is smaller than expected. The smile arrives. It leaves quickly. There is no echo. They understand then that they protected themselves well. Too well, maybe. Nothing cuts deep anymore. But nothing reaches far either. The realization doesn't demand change. It doesn't ask for action. It simply shows what the cost was. They gave up the habit of looking forward. Not dreams. Not goals. Just the quiet readiness for surprise. Life continues in balance. Even. Smooth. But flatter. Some people sit with this thought for a moment. They don't push it away. They don't explore it fully. They let it rest where it is. Because naming it doesn't change it. And ignoring it doesn't erase it. So it stays. A small truth. Barely visible. And everything keeps moving. After that shift, things continue much the same on the surface. Days still arrive. Tasks still get done. People still talk. Some people notice how little reaction is required now. Nothing pulls strongly in any direction. They show up when expected. They answer when spoken to. They listen. Their presence is steady. Reliable. Others find them easy to be around. They don't ask much. They don't push. There is no tension in them. No visible wanting. Conversations move smoothly. Nothing presses too hard. Inside, everything stays level. Thoughts pass without friction. Feelings appear and fade quickly. Joy doesn't swell. Sadness doesn't linger. The range narrows quietly. Some people notice how little they miss things. Missed calls. Missed chances. There is a sense that everything important is already here. Or already gone. They stop replaying moments in their head. What happened feels finished as soon as it ends. Memory becomes factual. Not emotional. They don't feel wrong about this. It feels clean. There is no one to blame. No event to point to. Life simply adjusted around them. People come and go. They accept it easily. They don't cling. They don't chase. When someone drifts away, there is a pause. Then the space settles. The absence becomes part of the room. Some people notice how quiet evenings become. Not lonely. Just unoccupied. They fill time gently. Screens. Walks. Background sound. Silence no longer feels heavy. It feels neutral. They are rarely bored. Rarely restless. The world reacts in small ways. Invitations slow down. Messages shorten. Not because something is wrong. Because nothing is being pulled for. Others sense the lack of expectation. They respond in kind. Energy follows energy. And this energy is calm. Some people become easy to forget. Not unimportant. Just undemanding. They don't remind anyone of themselves. They don't announce needs. So the world moves around them. Not against them. Not toward them. They stand slightly to the side. There is a kind of safety in this position. No sharp edges. No sudden drops. But there is also distance. Moments pass without imprint. Days blur together softly. They don't mark time by events anymore. Only by routines. Morning, evening, sleep. Nothing breaks this rhythm. Some people notice they feel older than their age. Not tired. Just settled. Like something has already concluded. They carry themselves lightly. No weight of anticipation. No pressure of disappointment. The cost is subtle. Hard to explain. Nothing feels missing in a way that hurts. But something no longer arrives. The world doesn't react strongly to them. And they don't ask it to. So everything remains quiet. Balanced. And the quiet holds. Some people continue this way without marking it. Days stack gently. One after another. Nothing calls for a conclusion. Nothing asks to be resolved. They wake up. They move through familiar hours. They rest again. There is no sense of being stuck. Only of being placed. Time doesn't rush them. It passes at an even pace. They notice small details more than big moments. Light on a wall. A sound in the distance. Those things don't ask for meaning. They just exist. The future stays faint. Not empty. Just soft around the edges. Some people don't wonder where things are going anymore. The question feels unnecessary. They live close to the present moment. Not intentionally. By habit. Nothing pulls them forward. Nothing pushes them back. They don't feel unfinished. They don't feel complete. They feel continuous. People still pass through their lives. Brief connections. Longer ones. Each leaves a small mark. None stay loud. They don't keep score. They don't measure closeness. Moments arrive. Moments leave. There is a sense that this is how things are. Not as a belief. As a quiet agreement with time. Some people sit with this without naming it. They don't resist it. They don't embrace it. They simply move alongside it. The world remains open in theory. Closed in practice. Opportunities exist. Outcomes remain distant. They don't feel denied. They don't feel chosen. Just present. Occasionally, something stirs. A thought. A memory. It passes before becoming a desire. The stillness stays intact. Nothing in this life looks dramatic from the outside. Nothing demands attention. And that is how it continues. Not ending. Not beginning again. Just ongoing.